Welcome to DU Digimon.
Hello and welcome to DU Digimon, and welcome to our usual Monday deck profile. We really hope you enjoyed Jank Tank 2 last week. If you didn't catch that, I'll put a playlist down in the description for you guys to check that out. Now, you'll notice straight away that once again, I am at the opposite end of the table, which means we are not looking at my deck today. We are in fact looking at Dan's deck. Dan, say hello.
Hi guys, so today I'm going to show you my Sukamon deck, or as was aptly named by someone else, the Ukkomon deck. There may be a spoiler for what's in it, but I'm sure we'll find out.
Also, little notes as well before we get into it. Thank you very much to the guys who have requested this deck profile. I did not note down before we started filming what your names were, but I will flash a little text thing on screen just to say thank you for the request, and we really hope you enjoy this deck profile. Like, subscribe, ding that notification bell if you have not. Dan, take us away. Cool. What does this deck do?
Cool. So, first of all, I'm just preface this where I have loved Sukamon from back in the day of playing Digimon World, where my first Digimon evolved into him. I was super happy, thought it was really cool, and then when I next got a monochrome on, I discovered how cool he wasn't. The second I found out he was in the card game, I had to build it, and in all honesty, it's been suitably poop right until up to EX5, where this deck is absolutely popping off.
I'm fairly sure. Is this the first deck you built when you started Digimon, or is it like with Sukamon?
It was the second. So it was some Blue North first, and then discovered poop, and then went straight into it.
Got you.
Cool. So let's jump straight into the goal of this deck is every time your opponent swings, they risk dying, and if they don't kill you, you have more threats on the board for them to deal with the following turn. So it's a little bit of control in places. You've got some options to work with, but the whole goal, whenever you're playing with it, you've just got to really think about how can I put more Sukamons or more Tumons out on the table. Cool. And then at some point, your opponent can't stop the tide anymore, and you just wipe the security out.
Yeah, I mean, times you have whacked this deck out. I mean, we have had a previous match on the channel with this versus Fanglongmon, a battle between gods and poop, only in Digimon. And this deck is scary fast because of the kind of stuff that you've got in it. It's kind of mad, and obviously it's very cheap as well to go into with everything that you've kind of got. So. Super scary deck, unironically, and I'm desperate to get this to go against Charles's Numamon deck at some point as well. Have a rematch between you guys at some point. We didn't feature that on the channel, but we had a match previously with Sukamon and Numamon, and we said straight away, okay, when EX5 and BT15 are out, we need to get you guys having a rematch.
Definitely. So.
If you want to take us into the card by card, Dan.
Absolutely. So we'll start off with the eggs, and because we're going to be cycling them, we run two variations. First of all, we've got the EX4 Sukamon, which is a beautiful little card. You're going to want to digivolve into a specific rookie, which we'll come to in a moment with this, and it's all about giving you plenty of draw power into the deck. The other egg that we run is mostly because, as we briefly mentioned, we're going to be cycling in. We run Ukkomon from EX5, and this is purely just, again, it gives you an extra draw.
Which, ironically, I think that is the egg for Sukamon for EX5, isn't it? Whereas this, obviously...
I believe so, yeah. It came in EX5, so...
So it's pretty cool. So obviously this one gets you more of a kind of consistent draw, doesn't it, with what you've got going on?
Absolutely, yeah. So, which onto that note, we were going to the first spoiler, which is not a Sukamon. I run the Ukkomon engine in this, and when you're playing lots of low-level rookies... He's absolutely phenomenal for getting them out on the board really, really quickly. And actually, this is straight into the first ideal combo you want out the gate, is you drop your Ukkomon to Sukamon, and he is then happy to sit there for the entire game where you play out your Tumons, you digivolve on top of them, Ukkomon's giving you memory as they come out of raising, he's then drawing you cards as you draw from it, and it just lets you keep everything you need in your hand at the point you want it. Cool. The slight danger is if you go too fast, you will deck yourself. So you have to be a little bit careful.
That is an issue. But having that draw engine and that memory engine as well, actually, it's kind of like a combined engine. It's great. I mean, this is more janky decks of mine can only dream of stuff like this, and it makes me. I super regret. I was like, Ukkomon, I'm not interested in that card at all. And then after I found out it was so broken, I'd already traded all of mine away. So it's just. Yeah, great.
Very happy I kept over a place. He fits in so many places. Cool. Then, with that out of the way, let's get on to the meat of the deck. So, next up, we have the first of our Tumons, which is, again, the new EX5 Tumon. The goal of this was that there's two really important heritables you want with your Tumons. The first one is which this one has, that when they die, they get to play themselves back out. The beauty of this Tumon in particular is when it plays in your opponent's turn, it will let you put more threats back onto the table by drawing out straight from your deck. So it's that goal of you get them out as soon as you can, you Digivolve on top of him so you're ready for your inheritable, and then you do not care about your opponent killing him. If they do, it's all fall to them, because the second he dies in your opponent's turn, you bring him back out, and then you can just immediately chuck another Tumon on the board, or another Sukamon in this case, and all they've managed to do is give you a Tumon and a Sukamon back out in play.
Yeah. So,
and they're
so
in just as much trouble.
It's kind of just like they've taken it out and it's just, well, it turns out it's buy one, get one free, and just bring them out. Really cool. Man, it's just such a cool deck. I love it. It's so funny.
Cool. So we'll keep it for 5 minutes. So the next thing we have is, funnily enough, another Tumon. Now, this is one that when it first came out, I completely overlooked. I couldn't figure out what it was for. In a nutshell, it lets you take something out of your security from the top, and then stick a Sukamon on the bottom of it, the top of it, sorry. But again, the value of this comes in that either you hard play it, which when you've got your Ukkomon engine out, you get just immediately do a quick cycle and just go, that's fine, I'll stick the security Sukamon there, and you don't worry about your opponent hitting your security anymore, because if they swing into it again, you're dropping it out. But also, it parries really, really well with the Tumons that are replaying itself out, where the second they're swinging hard into these Tumons, you actually go, I need to bring something back into security, so I'll just drop this Tumon out instead, and you can immediately just replay and buff your security and back up. It's inheritable with the -3k DP. It's nice if you die and you can kill off their chokers. What does really hurt this deck is if you come in something that blocks the memory chokers, then the Ukkomon loses a bit of value, so this is great just to throw them away to get rid of those out of it.
Yeah, well, I mean, any sort of removal at any level is always a plus, isn't it? Yeah, just for that kind of versatility.
Cool. And then we have 2 of the Digivolve for cheap Tumon, as I call him. Again, he's got the same inheritable to let you cycle back out, but he does exactly what he says on the tin, where you just bring him out and he's just a cheap way to go up higher. Again, that's really useful in this deck, because you don't ever want to be sat in the Tumons for longer than you need to. You want to get straight up into the Sukamons, so this guy just lets you do it for next to nothing. And also, if your opponent makes you go first, being able to drop it onto your egg and just choke them at 1 memory is always a bit of fun at the start.
Yeah, it's kind of a little utility that these rookies with the 1 cost actually do get sometimes. It's kind of overlooked, but it can be very useful. And just another, great little addition to the general engine of everything that's going on. It's brilliant. I love this.
Speaking of chokers, though, no deck we could play out without running just a couple of them of stopping your opponent gaining memory is just really, really valuable.
And in the rarest case as well, it's actually a thematic memory choker as well. A lot of decks don't use thematic ones, but Tumon actually is, which is awesome.
Yeah. I did think about running the other choker with the stopping Digimon play by effect, but it kills your deck quicker.
The
Chikuramon?
Oh, Chikuramon.
Fair. But unfortunately, it kills too much of your own deck as well to play it. So they kind of have to be your target priority more so than memory, because once you're rolling this deck, you just got to make sure you can keep playing the Digimon out and then you're fine. Cool. Then we get on to what is my favourite card that everyone loves to hate and hates to kill, is Platinum Sukamon. D-Digivolve, I just keep finding the more and more as decks are coming out, the D-Digivolve is so powerful.
Oh, yeah.
The big level 6s that love to come out and you throw them into a Sukamon and they drop down to that level 5 and they're not scary for that.
Well, it's just, especially if you're going up certain matches and they play a lot of ace cards, it's just free real estate.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
D-Digivolve has gotten, it's always been one of the best removal tools in the entire game, and it's just gotten better as the game's got on. It's so good. I mean, it's why decks like Leomon are so good. So it's great to have that as a tool, especially so cheaply as well.
It is quite fun when you swing into a Fangmon who goes, here's my level 6 8, and you go, I die to your 10k in security. I'll have some memory of that as well, please. And then if you've got your Tumon beneath it, then you also have the fun of then going, and now I'll play out a Tumon as well for the privilege. So yeah, the D-Digivolve on this is really, really valuable. And as I said, you put them on the board and you watch your opponents panic as they have to then play around a Sukamon that has very much a death wish.
As soon as he's there, it's just like, I've had enough.
Cool. Actually, it's also worth quickly pointing at this one, because it's a common one again. It's got the important heritable for your Sukamons that allow you to bin it by, if it dies, you can, and you've Digivolved on top of it, you can remove another Sukamon out the way as well. Really, really important for us to get into the slightly higher cards, just for keeping it on the board. The best way to delete them is by letting them kill you one with the bigger monsters, and then you bin the Sukamon instead, and then they really cry. Speaking of which, we then come on to, again, the card that, like the Tumon, I initially didn't quite understand the value of him until I played it a few times, which is the Security Sukamon. He's really simple. He's got the same kind of minus DP, which on his inheritable, which is so-so. It comes up now and again being useful. But the main value is that, combined with the Tumon, combined with the some of your level 6 we get into later on, you can very quickly drop this into security. They hit into your security, and you just get to dump another Sukamon out on the table. It's so easy to go from having 3 or 4 threats on the board. They do a swing, feeling confident they're going to hit you. They drop out, and you've got 5 checks on the board suddenly, and then your opponent's then worrying again. It's like, if I don't kill lots of Sukamon this turn, then I'm losing security next turn.
Like you better run Crimson Blaze, or you are up shit creek.
Yeah. Cool. Then the next Sukamon we've got is the first of the deletion Sukamon, which we just run at 3. There's another little tech I like to throw into this in a moment. We already run a lot of level 3s and level 4s, and you do need a lot of them, but this is one that just, the deletion effect to let you draw up more German is great, but the other ones do it slightly better timing than this one. But you wouldn't be out of place without it, and again, it's a nice one that, for him to die, you're almost happy with him dying, because it'll bring another threat out, and it stacks your trash when you want to. And again, it's got that important heritable to let you kill another Sukamon as you need to. Other than that, there's no really special combos of him. He just does what he says on the tin. The little kind of tech that I do is the target mon, the Sukamon in disguise. We run it at 1 purely because he's got a really interesting heritable that allows you to, when he goes to the trash, you can put another Sukamon in its place in there. So you don't actually ever really need more than one because you can keep it in your hand all the time. The value of him is he gives you a very early blocker. And again, you can do that with into your Tumons to actually put them out, stop your worried your opponent's going to swing before you're ready for them. You can just drop them out quite nicely. He takes the hit. If you've got the on-play Tumon down whereby he swings into you, Tumon pops out, plays out another Sukamon for you. You bring this back to your hand. Your Tumon comes back is already back on the table. They swung into you, and you've just doubled your threats on the board instantly, and you can play them again. The only downside of this card, why I don't run them at more, is the 3 cost feels really expensive compared to everything else.
Yeah, no, amen to that. It's like it doesn't sound like like much more 2 cost versus 3 cost, but it can make all the difference. It's like all of a sudden, if you don't have a memory tamer out, you're passing turn just because you've gone into a champion, or if you do have a memory tamer out, you've used up all of your memory just to go into one Digimon. Completely. So it's just kind of I totally get that. With this guy, is he counted as a Sukamon?
He does as well. So he's got text at the bottom. So I thought so. Turns him into one. So he triggers all your other effects, which is great.
Yeah.
The interesting bit is while it's the 3 individual, because he's an on-play for 3 cost, is you do have to weigh up half the time of whether you drop him out just on his own as the blocker, or whether you put him on top of one of your Tumons. Most of the time I try and put him on a Tumon. But compared to like the previous Sukamon, where you can digivolve for 1, and again, 1 to 2 doesn't sound like a lot, but it can really add up very, very quickly.
Absolutely, yeah.
But he does also have the inheritable to trash another Sukamon if he dies when you're on top of him as well. So we just play him at the 1 just because we can get him back as we need him. And otherwise he just sits in your hand until you just need to throw a very quick blocker, really. That is it for the level 4s. Then we come on to one of my other favourite Digimon, which is King Sukamon. The level 5s at this deck, because we run so many level 3s and 4s, we start getting really, really tight at this top end. So, again, as much as I would love to have the 4th one in there, 3 is enough to see him regularly enough. And if you've never come across a King Sukamon, he turns you into poop. Yeah. No other way to describe it, really. He just turns you into poo. The key bits I use him, because he'll give you extra security back for your Sukamons out, and if you've got 3 Sukamon or more in your trash, then he just turns you into one opponent into a Sukamon and lets you swing for it. He's really great in paper for killing off your security. The reality, because he's only a 6k DP, most of the time he comes out, looks big and scary, and then dies on the first check.
But saying that, the very fact that he's got that high value kind of removal tool, essentially, because the moment he turns, let's say for example you're going against Greymon, a deck famous for the amount of protection it's got. Don't I know it? Because everyone likes to tell me about it. But you can have a big scary Blackwall Greymon X out, and it's got all the protection effects that Greymon affords to have. You turn it into poo, and then it's a Sukamon. And all of a sudden, because it's treated as a Sukamon, it no longer has its protection effects because all the protection effects are for Greymons. So it's just a free way of getting rid of big bodies.
But it's also the really fun bit of the not only just the Sukamon that makes some usage for a turn. When you've got your inheritable that he swings into that security check, and you kind of hope to hit the big thing, because then King Sukamon dies, you pop your inheritable, and you bin off their Sukamon.
Yeah, exactly, because it's just a Sukamon on board. It doesn't have to be your Sukamon, does it?
No, exactly that. But the other bit is again, he's really tempted to try and be safe and hope for that big swing. But like with most of this deck, just want to throw it in. There is a knack to throwing at the security at the right time. You attack too often, and you are just going to give them more resources. But this is a really good thing that the second you get to him, you can turn something into a Sukamon, throw him out, and then happy days. But again, he's got that same important heritable to when you do go into a level 6 off him, he's got a lot of protection built in by binning the other Sukamon out from it. That is all of the poop for this deck, and instead we come into what can only be described as the contest of kings.
Or the poop throwers, because of who they are.
They do indeed. But we all know that Etemon is the king. The choice is which Etemon is your king, really. So
it's like standing for Etemon. It's just
So the first one, and this is possibly my favourite of the Etemons, although we're doing a run him at 3 again. And this one has the really interesting effect whereby you get to taunt your opponent into swing at you. There's not very much in Digimon that does that. The flat minus 3k DP is just funny because it's kind of you turn up and insult them, and then you force them to swing into you, which the rest of the deck is all set up, as I said, to make it so that every time you attack one of us, we get to either die or we get to do something else with it. So this is part of the engine to really make everything else work. If your opponent's sitting back and going, no, I'm kind of pretty, I'll just build a big stack and do 1-2k, suddenly, even like Ukkomon dropping from 12 to 9k and wanting to swing at you, coupled with when you do go on to the level 6, that you swing at us, and actually we get to bring out even more Sukamons and Etemons onto the field, just makes your opponent's play kind of really, really risky. I don't know if you've seen this and play yet much yourself, Josh? Or?
No, I mean, I've not taken on your Sukamon since you got all your fancy schmancy EX5 upgrades. So I've not seen it much at all. But again, that ability to kind of make your opponent do things forcibly to give you advantage, it's just so cool. And it's unironically, the poop decks are now becoming really good. This has become really good, and Jesus, Numamon is just terrifying.
Yeah.
Obviously the meta shifts and stuff like that, but yeah, it's just a really cool deck with a lot of really cool.
There is with the Monzomon, we're going to have a battle of teddy bears, basically.
Yeah. Whose teddy is better, the teddy bear or the teddy monkey?
So good. And on that note, we have our second of the Etemons, which is this is again what I call the security Etemon, and he's got a fun fact. So when he dies, first of all, his inheritable he lets you bring Etemons back out, which is just really annoying. You try and put a monkey down, and there's just another monkey there to hit. But his real value is that when he gets checked into security, he lets you play out a level 6.
That is so good.
Yeah. So you go from having fought your way through piles of poop, which is built up into a giant, massive monkey who is, in this case, just chilling out, doing his thing.
Yeah.
And then you kill him, and he goes on security. So he's like, oh, so I'm getting his security. Or even worse, you hit him in security, and you're facing an even bigger monkey in return.
Yeah.
So he is the one of the 5 we do have to run it for. He doesn't do much when he's outside the security. That's the reason I don't want him. But you need to see him ideally in your hand to play with your level 6s or in security. So he's just got to be there at 4 to make sure you get it where you need it.
So with this guy as well, so like you could with the security Sukamon, can you cheat this guy into your security as well? Can you
can do. There is a really fun way which you will see, and literally maybe the next
maybe the next card. Maybe.
So on that note, we get on to which, if anyone's followed anything on Sukamon, you will not be surprised by this. But we run 4 of the Metal Etemon, who, I do have to say, this artwork I absolutely love.
It's so cool. Yeah. It's so funny.
Brilliant thing. But the card itself is just amazing. This is the one that really, if you've dealt with all the poop and that's not killed you, he's going to make your life hell. So going back immediately into the first combo with him is when you swing at Metal Etemon, well, first of all, when you play him, he gets to kill something when you play him. The more poop that's in your trash, the bigger thing he pops. That's fun. It's not the reason that makes them so good. The value is that whenever you swing at Etemon, I get to put either an Etemon or a Sukamon straight onto the top of security. So this is why ideally we want to see him in his hand, because you stack with this Etemon, you're like, hey, this Digimon, you're going to swing at me, and then I'll pass my turn by going into a Metal Etemon, and you go, oh, so I swing at it, and then I can either place my Etemon or the security Sukamon here, and then I have a choice of either you swing into the Metal Etemon, and because you're at minus 3k, you're probably not going to survive it unless you are a super jumped up red deck.
Yep.
And even worse, if you are the red deck, instead you'll hit the Etemon, I come out, and I can really ruin your day by playing another Metal Etemon.
Yeah, that's so cool.
So yeah, Metal Etemon himself is so good. Okay, the artwork I absolutely love. But he's the big difference between what made this deck into a rookie rush that hoped to kill you before it got to anything big, and now actually you can come out swinging.
Like you've got a true boss monster. Like EX5 was bringing it with the boss monsters. This is such a good kind of dual color boss monster. You got Heavy Leomon from the same set, incredible boss monster. Is it just Digimon that this deletes, or does it delete anything else?
You can also delete a Tamer, I believe, if I remember correctly. It's play cost Digimon or Tamers. So
I thought so, yeah.
It starts at a 3 cost, and then every Sukamon you attack, your trash, you can go up an extra level from it.
I mean, that in of itself is also really good, because like some decks are so reliant on their Tamers. Like if you're going up against, say, I don't know, Grace Novamon, you get rid of their Tamers. That just helps you so much in terms of what's going on.
The really nice bit, because it's on play cost, means a lot of the Digimon, it's harder to get the big ones, but again, you can kill the chaff off. But against the Tamers, very rarely to get to 4. And if you've hit a level 6 without a Sukamon in trash, something's going wrong. Well, something's going very right, to be fair. Actually. But if they haven't killed a Sukamon yet, then you're very, very surprised. It's a bit harder to get up to killing like the big level 6s and level 7s, but that's where I find the value really comes in, of just forcing them to swing when they don't really want to. And again, against any of the aces, you laugh. It's like you've played out your level 4 little cost ace. That's very easy for me to pop and just have some free memory back off the top of it. But yeah, so Metal Etemon is absolutely phenomenal. He really makes the deck work. But it still is really a Sukamon deck. That being said, though, there is one other king that you have to think about, which is, of course, the King Etemon.
Yeah.
We run him at 1, and it's purely there as the beautiful tech choice of turning all your Sukamons into blockers. Against some decks where they can deal with the Metal Etemon really, really well, you just need to have more threats on the board. So against D-Brigade, for example, having multiple blockers, that when D-Brigade wants to do its big swings with lots of attacks, and you go, that's okay, I've got 5 blockers on board, and every time you kill a blocker, I'm going to get to put another one back down, just helps you to weather that storm when something's hard. Plus, the extra DP deletion when they do kill one of your Sukamon is really useful for just popping off those small threats again. Generally, at the moment, I see much more of the bigger Digimon. That's why he's only in there at 1, because it's every now you need him. But otherwise, he's just a great little addition from it. And to be honest, he completes the Etemon family quite nicely. So.
Yeah, very true. Very true. You can't have Etemon and Metal Etemon without King Etemon. And again, like you say, it has got that really nice kind of defensive utility. You know, if you are on the back foot, bring him out, make all of your stuff on board blockers. That could be the difference between surviving a turn and not surviving a turn. So, yeah, great tech choice.
100%. Now, the next one is it's an interesting choice, because it is not poop. It is a god. So how a poop digivolves into a god is a question.
Why does that sound like an anime title? How my poop turned into a god.
However, I maintain that because of the effects of this card, it is a Sukamon Indecise, and that is a Zul'Among Ace. Absolutely is a god, but the effects he brings out synergizes so well into this deck. And again, just having that ace as an option to pop into when you need it is phenomenal. His coming out and the returning one back to the hand is fantastic. And again, the perfect thing of you delete him and I delete one of yours in return. He just fits so well into the deck. And to be honest, when you're playing against this, the last thing you expect from a pile of poop is a god to turn up.
Well, very true. Yeah. Just a monkey throwing poo at you, and all of a sudden a giant sky dragon comes at you. So with him, is he? Because obviously he's not a Sukamon or an Etemon.
No, he's not. So nothing else can play him out. That's the downside. I'm
assuming, is he searchable, or is he? Got a way of searching him out?
He's not, but this deck doesn't use searches. You might not go.
Very interesting.
Well, there is technically the search in terms of the Tumon and the deletion, but if you go back to right at the start, the combo with the Ukkomon and the Sunamon, because you are playing out a Tumon and then digivolving in it, that gives you your draw. then your Achievement will die, comes back out, you immediately re-digivolve them back onto it. So again, you draw. You have so much draw potential with this that you just tend to keep cycling through enough that the only time you are searching is searching for something to immediately play out. So at that point, when you come to a Sukamon, he might go into the trash, but he's not really part of your win condition. What he is there to do is just to stop the things that the rest of the deck can't quite take care of. He just gives you that turn to drop him out and go, it's fine, we'll remove that bit, and we'll then, and then twice, half the time I do throw him out to swing for the on-deletion effect, because if it's gone to the point I need him out, then he needs to be there. And again, just if someone's swinging at you, thinking they've got you, and you blast up into a Sukamon suddenly.
Exactly, Who's going to be expecting an ace from a Sukamon deck? Like, what else are they going to be using?
That being said, we do need an Etemon ace.
yes, Bandai, if you're listening, Etemon ace, please. For probably not BT17, that's like a prototype tech, but maybe BT18 to 20, please.
Absolutely, give me a King Etemon ace. So
King Etemon ace, yeah.
Oh, it would fit the Etemon character so well. Yeah, completely wailing beforehand.
That'd be wicked.
Cool. That's it for the Digimon part of the deck. If you've been keeping count, you might have noticed we are very, very tight on
we are close to the end here.
But while there's plenty of deletion effects already, there is one every now and again, and if you watch the Fang Long match, you will have seen this in play, which is apparently I'm doing options first.
Go for it. It's your deck, dude. You do what you want.
So but we run 3 Heaven's Judgments. This card, if you mess with it, is super, super powerful in its own right. But the real strength in this is that we are at almost all times running 3 colours out, which means you've got minus 24 minus 24k DP across the board to dish out if you want to. If you do happen to have the Sukamon out, that gives you that little blue touch as well.
Very true,
So he's so good for just removing the threats when you just need a ball wipe. And a 7 memory, to be honest, it's a bargain for the sheer amount of dots.
Yeah, for sure. So in terms of your full colour count, you've got white, yellow, black, blue.
Yes,
yeah, and that's 6k for each of those if you've got them all out.
Yep.
Jeez.
And the thing is, if your opponent's suspecting know they're coming, they're trying to focus on wiping the board. The more they try and wipe the board out, the more you trigger all your other play effects. And they still then haven't hit your security, so you're fine on that front.
Bonkers.
Like, it's just what this deck does a lot of is forcing you to think you know how you're winning. And then everything you do against me comes back as it just triggers another way for me to get around you. That's where the power comes in.
So cool.
Yeah, every now and again, you just need to throw your opponent out by just clearing them out. And this is, again, where a Sukamon is part of your clear, Heaven's Judgment is part of your clear, the really big stuff, and then you drop in the metal Etemon down, you're like, cool, let's come over with your little guys again. It's not going to work. So the last part is on to the last 2 cards of the deck, which are a Tamer. Again, if you've come across black Tamers, there aren't really very many useful, and especially in Sukamon, who wants to be a poop Tamer? Apart from myself.
One day you'll be made into a card.
But there is one for the Ukkomon, which is the Louis. And again, this is there, and it seems so not just for the Ukkomon, but allowing you to turbo out so many of your Tumons so quickly again. Just everything does. You just drop them out of nowhere. And then suddenly you're bringing out your Ukkomon. In fact, I think I had the perfect combo in the match against Charles, whereby I brought out an Ukkomon who came out hatched, played a Louis, brought out an Ukkomon, hatched the next one, and then dropped another rookie down here. And that still, I went from being 3 memory to still being on 1 or 2 memory from it as well. You can just cycle it out, and again, you've got a million threats on the board. Like, how do you fight against that many small things coming out? That's all he does do. So we only run him at 2, partly because of space, and everything else does more stuff. But it's just very handy just to throw in there for the last little bit.
No, very cool. So having him at 2, do you see him enough, would you say?
So far, because it's enough of a difference to bring him out. I did experiment at 3, but the problem with that is then you're really trying to decide what else do you drop out instead.
Yeah, that's fair.
You don't want to drop out the Ukkomon, you kind of want 4 because you need to see them early. You definitely don't want to drop any of your Tumons because you need them early. The Sukamons are so important to get for the trash of the higher. So at that point, he's competing with space for... you could drop Heaven's Thunder to 2 instead, but I found the board wipes needed just that little bit more often. And again, you're churning out so much memory with the Ukkomon engine that actually it's just nice icing on the top to get it rolling early when you see it. And if you don't see it, it's fine. If it comes up a bit later, you can catch up if you need to.
Very cool. No, thank you, Dan. It's a fantastically cool deck. I love decks like this where it's just wild stuff that you're not going to expect, and it just takes you by surprise. Obviously, if you do want to see this deck in action, guys, there will be a link in the description to the previous match against Fanglongmon, and obviously at some point we will be bringing out a match with this versus Numamon. We've got to get that grudge match on camera for the people, Dan. For the people.
To be fair, I love playing this match, so feel free to bombard the comments with requests for more poop. I will happily play more poop.
But thank you very much for watching, guys. Obviously, like, subscribe, ding that notification bell. But until next time, keep it digital.